Chico's gonna give you what? Rev is gonna give you what? Ben is gonna give you what? All three are gonna give you the Big D. Chico's gonna give you what? Rev is gonna give you what? Ben is gonna give you what? All three are gonna give you the Big D. Chico, Rev, and Ben, yep, they're at it again. Breaking down the team, putting stats up in your head. Nothing left unsaid, they're leaving it all on the field. Just like the favorite team, raising 2 cups and with shield. The knowledge is so real for a trio so true to representing the great red, white, and blue. And you love them too, that you can't deny. So just one time, let me hear Dallas till I die. Chico's gonna give you what? Rev is gonna give you what? Ben is gonna give you what? All three are gonna give you the Big D. Chico's gonna give you what? Rev is gonna give you what? Ben is gonna give you what? All three are gonna give you the Big D. Soccer podcast?
Hey, welcome to Big D After Dark on August 9th. Oh, and we are excited to welcome you to our live video show podcast that breaks down FC Dallas news and rumors with a bit of saltiness and fun. Tonight we celebrate 10 points from the past 4 games for Dallas with a draw at Seattle. How good is that? And a big home win against the inferior Austin FC. We'll invite you to join the Shoon train. We'll invite you to grade head coach Luchi Gonzalez with us, and we'll talk about the unexpected stories of this season. Why not join us and share your comments and questions live? Welcome to Big D After Dark. Hey, there we go. Welcome to Big D After Dark. Now, our stream may have the wrong date on it, but hey, that's life. Always a little technical thing that we are going to continue to adjust, but you're here. It's August 9th. You're here on the After Dark podcast live show, available if you can't catch it live, wherever you like to get podcasts. And right now, it's just the two of us. Ben is going to join us later, but I'm Nathan. You can follow me at Nathan J. Hill on Twitter. There next to me is my buddy Jose Carmona at El Chico.
Hello.
Carmona. All right. We're glad you are with us. Let us know if audio sounds good. We are always learning. There's always a few technical issues, but it's a long season. Just as we've seen with FC Dallas, that you can have some issues and then you can correct them. You can grow. You can learn from them. And that's what this team has done. That's what we all are doing. That's what the human experience is about. And that's what we're going to talk about today with FC Dallas. 10 points from the last 4 games. A huge turnaround from where we were 4 games ago, thinking about how long is Luchi gonna stick around in his job? What is this team in shambles? Did the front office whiff on every signing this offseason? And now here we are, 10 points, 4 games. By the way, 2 of those games on the road, 4 points on the road, which really shifted FC Dallas's fortunes. And we know that will be part of the journey, the challenge in the next legs of the season. But this week in particular, they go to Seattle. They go down by 1 goal, but they gut out a late Franco Jara goal, just a scrappy kind of something out of nothing. Get a huge point on the road in a tough place to play, and then come back home and take care quite easily of the lowly Austin FC expansion side. This has been a great couple of weeks to be an FC Dallas fan. So let's just start there with this past week with Seattle, with Austin FC. Jose, what did you like from the matches?
Well, I like that the team found a way. I mean, they were down to Seattle, and prior to the current run of form that they have, we all would have pretty much hung our heads and said, "Oh, well, this is where the team collapses." Because we've seen them play well on the road, even though they hadn't earned a point on the road up until this past 4 weeks. They'd play well for a full half, and then the other team would score a goal, and then it would just snowball from there. The team would completely fall apart. They ended up losing by 2 or 3 goals on the road, and that didn't happen this time. This time you saw basically they fell down 1-0 to Seattle, and instead of folding, you saw the team basically find a way to find the equalizer and get the result at Seattle. And I don't care if Seattle wasn't 100%, which is something that everyone likes to throw in your face. Seattle hasn't been 100% for most of the season, and they've gotten result after result after result. And even a Seattle at 50% is still almost impossible to be beaten at home by a team that's not a good road team. So, an excellent result. There's no way around it. That's when you look back, if this team turns it around and makes it into the playoffs and makes a run, that draw at Seattle is one of the games that you'll look back and say, that was when this team basically turned it around. It was actually, the week before that. But like I said, it's one thing to gain the lead on the road. Then you can, once you get the game on the road, it's easier to try to get that point or get the 3. But when you fall behind on the road, that's murder. In MLS, it's absolute murder, especially for a team like Dallas, who, let's face it, has never been a really good road team on the league. So, and again, I think you're being kind of generous, actually not generous enough with those 4 points on the road, because they didn't just get them against anybody. They got them against, most of these points have come against the top 3 teams in the West.
Yeah.
So these are teams that we had every right to expect a loss against. And of those the last 4 matches, it's actually the first half of Austin against Austin was actually probably our worst half, I would say, because, I hate to say it, but Dallas could have easily been down a goal, maybe even 2 goals against Austin in the first half, because Austin had their chances. They really did, and Dallas looked flat-footed. They looked like all those games in such a short time span had taken its toll, and that could have been disastrous against Austin, but that didn't happen. They turned around second half, and the second half we got the FC Dallas that we thought we would see in the first half.
Yeah.
So, all in all, a great run of form, and hopefully gives us a little momentum going into this upcoming brutal road stretch.
And hey, I think our buddy Ben has just joined us. Ben, are you with us?
I am. Do you hear me?
Yes. All right. Good. Hey, we were just talking about this past week, and of draw at Seattle and Austin FC, and just the things that we liked, what we saw. What did you like that you saw this past week from this team's fight?
Well, I mean, going down a goal in Seattle late and then coming back, that's a testament to the guys that aren't getting a whole lot of playing time right now. Obrion, Vargas, Hara. I don't know if you read Matt Doyle's article capping up the weekend, but basically just lifted what I've been saying for the past couple of months. So people have noticed. And so, keeping an unbeaten run into, the 3-game homestand they're on, I think was big. I think one thing I would like to see over the course of the next couple weeks is some more proactive rotations like what you saw out of Austin this weekend. Healthy, they got the depth to do that. You know, and I think Lucci's decision making has been improved over the last couple of weeks, and you can see that in the results. I like that.
All right. That's good. That's good stuff to think about. Yeah, and I think gutting out the result. By the way, Tommy, our buddy Tommy LaBouffe is joining us, and he said, yeah, he likes Shun. He likes what Shun brought, the energy, and we've seen that. We've seen that Shun has been a lively piece. I think too, being highlighted as Matt Doyle did. It's even seeing that Pepe, even if he hasn't scored, he didn't score this week. He didn't score against Seattle. He didn't score against Austin. But his off-the-ball movement was crucial to setting up the times we did score, kinds of things. Like, he just put in his shifts. He's a professional. He's growing. He's learning. So that's great. That's some good stuff. So there's a lot to like. And I agree with you about Lucci, Ben. I think Lucci has shown... Matt Doyle on MLSsoccer.com in his article this past week kind of leads with FC Dallas and says that Lucci simplified the formation in the over game plan at the beginning of the season. I think it's easy for a soccer guy to do that. I don't know that he knows the mind of Lucci, but the team is playing freer. They're playing. But, I mean, the pieces are clicking right now. There's a good confidence, and we're going to get to that here in just a moment. In fact, let's do that now. Let's listen to our buddy Ryan Hollingshead as he talks just kind of about the team and sort of their confidence level.
Yeah, we're obviously really excited to be in the rhythm that we're in. We've been preaching it to ourselves all year long. It's just a matter of time until we find our rhythm. We've got the players, we've got the team, we've got the tactics, the style we want to play, and we know that it can be successful in this league. And so we've been doing that, putting that together every week in training, knowing that these things are going to change, and it's finally happening and starting to feel that. And then, obviously you get that one, you get the second win, and you can see the confidence just start to turn in the guys and the way that they're playing, the way that we're attacking, and even the way we're weathering storms. Like, we're getting so much more comfortable to weather other teams' attacks and not let it change our mentality. So really excited for where we're going. I think this team has a lot more ahead of it.
A lot more ahead of it. I think that's the question all FC Dallas fans are looking for, right? Is can this run continue? Right?
Yes, I think it's not just that. I mean, I think it's now that we've seen the pieces falling into place and seen how the team can play. Yes, they've been getting results, but that early season drought that they had is still so fresh in all the fans' minds that nobody is counting their eggs in their basket just yet. They're just, everybody is hopeful, but I don't think you have too many fans that are saying, oh yeah, it's Sporting, Kansas City, and Seattle and Dallas, we're gonna get 3 points guaranteed against those guys, because those guys will come in certainly in better shape than when Dallas played them at home, and they'll be pumped to try to get a result, steal a point at Dallas. And let's face it, if Dallas played the way they played against Austin in the first half against Sporting and Seattle, they'd find themselves in the hole against those teams. Those are teams that would punish you for that kind of play. So I think that's the great thing about the Austin result is, yes, we got the desired win, the desired comfortable win. But at the same time, the team played bad enough in the first half that it allows Lucci to not let them rest on the result and say, "Oh, we were great." No, you were great for one half. You were horrible for a second half. For the first half, we need to have 2 good halves we can't be having a bad half against the opponents we're going to face the next couple of weeks. So, yeah, I mean, I think we're all hoping that to get 6 points from the next 2 matches, but it's no guarantee.
I'm trying to bring up some highlights for us to kind of enjoy here as
I want to say also that the one thing that really stands out, I think some people have said that have accused Dallas of not having. I don't know. It's other fans mostly saying that Dallas doesn't have a like a style or when you play other teams, you know what you're going to get. But let's face it, I mean, Dallas, if you look at your attack, is there any other team that's starting 3 or 4 homegrowns in their attack? Americans at that? Is there? I don't think there is. You got Pepe, you've got Paxton, you had Cirillo, you had Ferreira up there. I don't think that there's another team in MLS that has pretty much, other than Shun or Ricard if he gets involved. I don't think you have any other team that has mostly an All-American attack. That's something that
yeah.
and such a young attack. So I mean, we're just seeing. I don't think they've even hit their stride yet.
I don't think they have either. I think we have seen glimmers of it coming together. We were just watching on the stream here, sort of a sideline view of Ferreira's goal, video courtesy of FC Dallas, and with young guys like Shun, like with Jesus, with Pepe, with Paxton, who are still going to have their up and down games as young players. We haven't seen the ceiling, right? We haven't seen the potential of what these guys can bring on a week-to-week basis. They're still becoming professionals.
And I think that's one thing for the casual fan to understand is that the team as a whole is so young that you cannot expect them to be the same player they are at the beginning of the season, in the middle of the season, at the end of the season. Because these are young players who are learning. I mean, look at Tafare. This kid, we went from not having a clue if he would be able to handle a start for FCD, and now now we can't see him being taken out of the starting lineup. And he's a player who's improved every week. Every week he's gotten better and better and better, to the point where now you question whether they should even bother taking him off the starting lineup once Jose and Matt get healthy. And if you have to choose between Brazan and Tafari, you say, well, sorry, Brazan's got to go.
Yeah.
I mean, but you're talking about a player who only has a handful of games under his pocket, and is only going to get better and better and better. And that applies to almost, not everybody, but almost everybody in the starting lineup for FC Dallas. And maybe I'm being overly optimistic, but that's young players for you. Lucci could have lost this team. He could have lost this team. He could have lost the locker room. That hasn't happened. That means the players trust him. And with young players who are impressionable like that, if they believe their coach and they keep him working on improving, man, this team we're just scratching the surface of what this team can do.
Well, but before we get into that, we're going to hear from Coach Lucci here in just a moment. Appreciate all the comments, Tommy. And by the way, Hoach or Huck says Jose is my dad. So cool. Hey, but before we get into we keep it going. Let's just pause for a moment, and because I think Tommy brought it up in his comment, and I'm not going to post your whole comment, Tommy, But, he just says, it can get better, especially if Matt Hedges can return to the lineup, because we know Matt Hedges, MLS Defender of the Year, talent, ability, such a veteran, leadership, presence on that back line. Is there anything from these past few games? Obviously, we saw sort of Bresson in this last game kind of show his ability to make some questionable decisions again, put his team at risk. Luckily, it didn't impact the game. But is there anything that you haven't liked from these past couple of games that are signs that this team still has some things to work on? Ben, we'll start with you on that. I'm throwing to you that question right there to you. Give you a second to think about it. But yeah, is there anything this team still has to grow into? I mean, these have been great results, but they haven't been perfect, right?
Well, no, but I mean, would say like the majority of the Sporting Kansas City game was really good, and even the games which would probably fall more along the lines of serviceable, you got results out of those. I don't know. To me, like the things that need to be shored up at this point are, what's going to be your back line going forward? What's going to be your preferred four? So like with Justin Shea coming back, Jose Martinez getting his health back in good shape, what's your back four going to look like? And of course, even after that, you've answered questions there, which is great. So you've gone from like a really dodgy mess to, hey, actually a good back four and depth, when Shea and Martinez get healthy. That's great. And then, in the center of the midfield, those two guys behind Jose, what's going to be your balance there? Eventually just Paxton ended up getting back there. There's definitely some fine tuning that's still there, but it's really hard not to be positive almost entirely across the board at this point.
How about you, Jose? Anything this team needs to work on?
Well, they have quite a few things they can work on. I mean, even though they've gotten the results, I do believe they've allowed over 30 shots against them from both like Seattle and Sporting, for example. That's a lot of shots. I mean, maybe not shots, but crosses. A lot of crosses getting whipped into the box. I mean, Safari is having a monster number of clearances for a reason, and I think that's something that needs to be worked on. It needs to be improved on. I mean, I know that they got the draw against Seattle, but Seattle made a lot of daring runs into the box. It's their weakness seems to be more like, you've got Tomasi out there, you got Tafari. These are young players. You've got Brisson, who's prone to hiccups here and there. You've got Ryan, who's asked to go much further ahead, and I think the defense, while it has been solid, it's still not perfect. It's still not quite there, and you can still see, like I said, this team, yes, it's working better. It's everyone's, but there are those hiccups, and those need to be cleaned up. FC Dallas is not a well-oiled machine that is flawless. You see the breakdowns. You see the missed assignments. And it's a player here, a player there. And fortunately, we have other players step up and compensate. But you can only keep that up for so long. They need to clean that up. It's better than it was earlier in the season, but you can still see where there's work to be done. I mean, you tell me, Seattle, for example. I was watching that game and I was like, man, Seattle was making a lot of daring runs into the box. They were making a lot of, to me, it didn't seem dynamic. It seemed like they were rehearsed plays, and like Dallas had basically scouted them so they knew where to position their defenders and stuff. But that's because they were missing their dynamic players like Lodero, for most of the match. guys that would take a simple design play and turn it into something spectacular. Okay, and I think Sporting also had Polito was missing, Bucio was missing. So I mean, yes, they played solid defense, but like I said, we still see enough hiccups here and there that we have to be concerned. And mind you, some people are celebrating that Brazan is going to miss the next, game. May not get back to starting lineup, but I'm not so sure. Yes, we saw Matt play a couple of minutes both last two matches, but there's no guarantee that Matt or Jose are ready to go a full 90 minutes, or that Lucci will even ask them to. I mean, for all we know, the next match, it could be Justin Chase starting next to Tafari, or it could be Kaiser starting next to Tafari, because there's no guarantee that Matt or Jose are ready to go the full 90.
Yeah.
And even if they do, you have to think that they're both out of form. So they may make mistakes along the lines of what Brazan does from time to time that are not like them. But let's face it, we don't know if they're both 100, if either of them is 100%. And I'm not sure that Lucci would Lucci seems to play it safe, is what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if he'll take that risk. So that's a concern for me going forward. Yes, Brazan and his, tearing up, chewing up his pad. And, hey, he had every right to throw that tantrum because he realizes that him getting suspended may mean him not getting more playing time going forward unless there's an injury or something. His role will diminish. Whereas if he had not gotten a yellow card, because Matt and Jose are not 100%, Brazan could continue to start. And you could keep bringing Matt and Jose off the bench, letting them slowly get back into form. That's not going to happen now. Whoever we get out there next to Tafari is either going to be less than 100%, not in form, or it's going to be someone like Che or Kaiser who will immediately be targeted by the opposition.
Yeah.
So
point.
I think that's the one thing that we have
point.
to worry about.
Well, let's shift over to this question from our buddy Hoach, I guess. Hawk. My brother goes by Hoach. With the win against Austin, does that likely close the door on any chance FC Dallas brings in a new coach, even if we struggle for the rest of the season? Or is Lucci safe with this string of wins? Well, that's a good question. I mean, I think we're assuming that this good run of form continues. At the beginning of the season, Dan Hunt was clear that this team's goals was to win championship and to be in contention for the playoffs. So to miss the playoffs would certainly be a mark against that, and would raise some questions about Lucci's future. But it's a good question. We're assuming this good run of form is going to continue, but hey, FC Dallas is likely going to struggle here and there. Has he at least turned this team around enough to secure his role for the coming year? Ben, what do you think?
Well, I'll tell you what. I'll answer that.
Okay,
I've
go ahead.
never been a Lucci out guy. I've never believed for a minute that his job is in danger. I think that talk's just ridiculous because for what we view, the fans view as negative, this and that, it's not necessarily what Hunt's looking for. I mean, all these players that are being sold left and right, they're getting sold because Lucci's giving him playing time. I mean, I was talking about the All-American attack we've got going. Don't think that the Hunts won't be fielding calls for all of those guys. I'm not saying they'll sell them all, but they'll be more than happy to listen to the right offer for anybody that's playing their lights out right now. Paxton. I mean, be happy that they're playing well. Lucci's playing the kids, but playing the kids, what people don't realize means selling the kids. It's a big, basically, shopping display for other teams. and the Hunts are more than happy. And the bottom line is, if Lucci's making the Hunts money by displaying the young talent and allowing the Hunts to ask, top dollar for Che or Pepe or stuff like that, I don't think his job is in danger. I think as long as and it's too early for that anyway. We're like not even halfway through the season yet. There's still a lot of season. There's only like 5 points separating, like, I don't know, the bottom, where Dallas is, eighth spot, them and like the next 5 teams ahead of them. There's no separation. There really is very little separation in the Western Conference. Outside of SKC and Seattle, I think they're the only two that are far ahead. Everybody else is just a couple of bad results away from dropping out of the playoffs, or a couple of good results from getting into the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I don't think that's even crossed the Hunt's mind. I mean, the fans are overreacting, is what I'm saying. I don't think Lucci's in trouble. And yes, I think he would have to miss the playoffs, but he'd have to miss them wildly. Like if they miss the playoffs by a point or on a tiebreaker or in the last week, he's not going anywhere.
I see. I get your.
Yeah. Hey, I started, but I had myself on mute there, so sorry about that. Hey, and basically, I agree with everything that Jose said there. I mean, they made the playoffs postseason under Lucci, so I mean, if they make the playoffs again, which is easily in reach, then I would say there's a 100% chance he's coming back.
All right. So you heard it here. And even I think if they struggle, I think you could probably hear the argument from Dan Hunt and company that, like, hey, we had a lot of challenges this year. We had injured players and folks away on international duties and stuff. We had that
Franco Hara.
Yeah. What? I don't know if Dan Hunt will own up to that, but so I think he would probably give him a pass. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. Hopefully this run of form kind of continues. Well, let's talk. Lucci answered a question about Shun. Let's get on the Shun train, the hype train for Shun. What an exciting player. He's coming along. He's growing in each game. 2 assists on Saturday against Austin was crucial in that game. Such an energetic force. It's really exciting to watch. Let's listen to Coach Lucci talk about Shun. And I made this clip longer because there's a funny part at the beginning when Lucci cannot open a water bottle, and I just thought, hey, this is very human. It's fun for us FC Dallas fans to see.
We have strong hands. Aquafina, I'm putting you away, but it's not my fault. It's yours. No, it's like, I don't know if it's wet. I'm usually the one asked to open bottles, just so you know that. Hey, this is a different bottle, just so you guys know that.
Holy cow.
It's like impossible.
Go ahead.
I needed the equipment manager to get that.
You do.
Sorry, John. Yes. Look, Shun, we said this 2 weeks ago because he had a good spark 2 weeks ago and coming back and integrating with the group. Pretty unfair to him when he first joined us. I mean, he was brand new. He played 5 minutes, 7 minutes here. He was about to come in, and then he didn't get subbed in because the outcome of the game changed. So but through all that, he's been such a positive person in our locker. Really excited to be here and contribute. And then he went off to Euros, and then his teammates got to see him compete in the Euros and get some minutes. And you could see really the whole team get behind him and support him when he was playing with Hungary. So when he came back, there was like a stronger connection with him and his teammates. And then I think that helped him on the field. And he's been earning more opportunities. And tonight he got 2 assists, which an assist for me is as important as a goal. So credit to him and congrats to him. And he helped the team get the result tonight.
All right. Are we on the Shun hype train now? Has the train left the station? Is it just warming up? Where are we at with this?
I've always been on the shooting hype train, even when he had the bad results, when he was played out of position, which I still believe it was just Lucci trying to find a way to get him on the field, get him some minutes. But I've always been on the hype train, and I want to say I was on social media earlier, and some people were making an argument that Shun wasn't all that good, or that Vargas and O'Brien were playing better. I don't know. I was rolling my eyes at the comments, but his placement of his passing, of his crosses, have been sublime. I mean, there's one thing to whip across into the box. It's another thing to make a sublime pass to the point that the defender, all they have to do is redirect it or hit it squarely without having to worry about where the ball's going to be. His placement of his crosses has been just sublime. I mean, I don't recall anyone making that many clean passes like that, crosses into the box, low driven passes like that, crosses into the box. I love it. I mean, and it's not just that. I've said it before that he gives you that player that seems to be able to run at the defense and create something out of nothing. We saw it against Sporting, where he was just terrorizing Susie out there, and he was just, my goodness, he was putting the moves on him. And it gives you another guy like Paxton that's unafraid to challenge the defense, like Ricarte. I mean, the more dynamic players like that on the pitch for Dallas, the more dangerous the attack becomes. And yeah, I mean, so far so good. I mean, and he's what, 20, 21? He's just a kid. He looks like a kid too, by the way, and he looks like he needs a good off season to add a little MLS muscle. But other than that, I'm impressed.
I'm impressed too. Ben, your thoughts on the Shun hype train?
Yeah, like I got fully on board during and after the Sporting Kansas City game, where he turned Zusi into his little, what.
Agreed.
So the thing is, it's going to be exciting to see him, open up his goal scoring account, because one thing about his play over in Europe is he wasn't necessarily a big provider. I mean, he was good at that, but I think he was more known for his goal scoring prowess. So it's just a matter of time for that to come around too.
Yeah, you could tell. Yeah, he's getting in those dangerous positions. His athleticism. He's kind of getting to the speed of MLS and the physicality. Yeah, it's like seems like it's a matter of time till he's in those positions to put away a goal or two, right? I mean, I'm with you, Ben. I think we're seeing it.
I mean, his teammates draw too much attention for him not to, bang home a couple here in the next 2 weeks.
I also want to add one small side note to that is that I like the fact that when he was knocked on the ground on several occasions, he didn't turn into O'Brien and start complaining to the refs and stuff. I think he once or twice he did, but he didn't linger on that, and he just basically shrugged it off and continued, which is one thing that I think soured a lot of people on O'Brien, is that he spent more time on the ground complaining than dusting himself off and getting back into the flow of things. And you're seeing that from Shun, where maybe he's not the most physical guy, but he gets dropped down and he just picks up, no complaints, and just keeps shouldering on.
Yeah, he's an exciting player. So our buddy Hoch on there says the biggest upside for our new Hungarian player is he actually drives at players and makes play attempts. We haven't seen anyone else do that on this roster outside of Paxton.
Agreed, and that's what I was trying to say too, and I think that's what I said. And that's the Hungarian cowboy, by the way.
Yeah, the Hungarian cowboy. Hey,
I love the nickname. It's you saw him put on the hat and he wore it sideways, which is the way they wear it in Hungary, which is hilarious to us. But, he probably thought, it's like, hey, what do you mean I'm not wearing it right? But yeah, it's give him a nickname. You can't pronounce his name. Hungarian Cowboy sounds great to me.
Yeah. Well, let's shift over to kind of this coming week. It's an interesting week for the FC Dallas's opponent this coming Saturday, on the 14th, as FC Dallas welcomes Sporting Kansas City. And what's interesting about their week is that Sporting Kansas City has a midweek Nations Cup, or whatever it's called. Nations League. What is it called? Anyway,
Nations League.
Nations League. Thank you. And so they're probably, they're gonna have to face choices. Vermes will have to make a choice of what to prioritize. So there's a good chance we'll see a rotated squad on Saturday, or at least a squad with some heavy legs to come into the Dallas Heat and deal with Frisco situations. So there's a good chance for FC Dallas to get another 3 points against Sporting Kansas City, which is sweet, which is just some good stuff if we can do it. So what are you all thinking about this? What's your feelings on this weekend? We said we got to win 3 points at home. What's your predictions for this coming match?
Hey, you know what? Our Budapest Vaquero, he's going to get a brace, and one of his teammates will add another, and they're going to just put the wood to Sporting Kansas City. 3-0.
Yeah, I got a feeling that Sporting Kansas City is going to bunker. I really want to wait and see what happens, how they roll out against Lyon first. We don't know how serious they're going to take that. For all we know, they could send their reserves. They could bring a bunch of Sporting Kansas City 2 players up and field them against Lyon. We don't really know if they're going to take that match seriously at all, which is what I'm waiting for. My guess is they'll play some kind of rotated squad, but you got to remember that Sporting played LAFC on Wednesday, then Colorado on Saturday. Now they're playing Lyon tomorrow, and then they travel to Dallas. I believe that Colorado game was in Colorado also.
Mm-hmm.
So you're talking about, they played at LAFC, then they played at Colorado. Now they're going to travel home, host Lyon, and then travel to Frisco. Yeah, I'm very confident that Dallas should be able to get a result against what should be a very heavy-legged team. Even if they play a rotated squad against Lyon, that's just a lot of attrition for any team. And mind you, the players that they're getting back were seeing action with their teams on international, so it's not like they're rested either.
Mm-hmm. And they're now without Busio. I think he's officially been sold. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see. Yeah. So all right, we're feeling positive. Yeah, I like Ben. I like 3-0, but I'm happy with a 2-0. Even if Sporting Kansas City bunkers and we just get a scrappy 1-0 win, let's keep the good times rolling. Yeah. Hey, Tommy asked another good question here. Let's touch upon it before we close out. What did you think of Lucci's decision to sub Paxton at the start of the second half? He says, I also want to note that Paxton came out the locker room ready to play apparently, and this was not planned. Of course, I don't know. I'm not sure. I didn't listen to all the post game, so I didn't know if that question was asked.
I believe that Paxton had a hamstring issue, and now I'm not saying that he wouldn't have played through it or not. I'm sure Paxton would have more than happily played through that, but you got to remember that Lucci is going to use kitty gloves with Paxton, and he's going to be like, oh wait, you feel something? Okay, we're taking you off. We're not. Yeah. They're not going to take any chances with Paxton whatsoever, and I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it because we don't want to run him out there, toughen it out, and then that just aggravates it even more. And next thing you know, he's gone for weeks. I'm okay with, hey, I'm feeling something, before halftime. Okay, let's play it safe. Let's take you out. I expect we'll see that with whoever starts alongside Tafari next week, whether it's Matt or Jose. I think if they show any uncomfortness at any point in the game, Lucci will say, okay, we're subbing you out. Because Lucci he needs to get his team healthy. And kitty gloves with Paxton. I'm okay with that. I'm okay. As long as Lucci thinks that Paxton is not 100%, I'm okay with him sitting.
I think we heard it on the broadcast too, and Lucci couldn't make the case to change the lineup. The lineup had success. They've gotten some results. It was, he probably could have made a case to start somebody to rest some legs. Brought in Ricarte. Ricarte was the more puzzling sub for me, but probably with just the half he had, it wasn't a great half. Ricarte really struggled to make an impact. It probably made more sense to bring in Costa for his energy and his ability to run all over the place and disrupt. But yeah, it was interesting, and so to think of it from the injury perspective, but also I think just a realization some legs were heavy out there too. I think Lucci just realized, even those guys were like, "Hey, we're ready to play, coach. We're ready to run."
And let me tell you something else. One of my biggest complaints for most of the season has been that Lucci has waited far too long to make substitutions, and I'm happy to see him make the halftime changes, because if you have players like Acosta on the bench, you got players that have started. I know we're not happy with O'Brien, but he started a lot of games for us. He has many players on the bench. You got Surreal that's available. You got players that have starts on the bench. You should not be afraid to bring those players in. And the team played badly. They played poorly in the first half. Completely justified. Let's make some changes. Let's bring in some fresh legs. I'm so happy he did it. I'm not upset at all. This is something I've called for before. If your team is struggling, why wait till the 70th, 75th, 80th minute to make a change? Make the change now, especially when you got up to 5 subs. Dallas has so many young players in need of minutes, that they should be abusing the hell out of that role. I kid you not. Dallas should be one of the teams that should sub 5 players all the time. Winning or losing, you've got so many players, so many young players need minutes. I'm very happy they did it, and it was a positive result. We'd all be upset if we had lost or drawn. Then we'd all be, oh my God, he should have subbed those guys up. But like I said, I've always called for it. Yeah. Don't be afraid to use those subs.
So one thing with the sub rule is you get 3 windows to make that sub, but you also get halftime, and that doesn't count as one of the 3. So, if you've got, kind of on the fence, then, use that as your guide. And in a close game, it makes sense to do that for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yep. If you can make the 2 subs at the half, and you still got 3 subs on hand, why wouldn't you?
Mm-hmm. Right. A lot of young legs that you can throw at tired teams in that heat. Yeah.
Exactly.
Good. And meanwhile, by the way, our USL 1 side, North Texas SC, got a 2-0 win against Tucson. Good stuff.
That was a fun one to watch.
Yes, but what's that game? What was that game important? Why was that win important? What was so special about that match?
First road win.
Not just the first road win. Big hire. Who was the coach?
Oh, yeah, right.
Michelle. That's right.
Michelle made his head coaching debut, filling in for Quill, and led the team to his first road win. That's huge. You want to wonder if let's face it, Quill's making a case to move up, to get a better job. I think that he's making that case with the success he's had in North Texas. why wouldn't a USL championship team or some, desperate MLS team or something that wants a coach with a good academic experience? I think he's a candidate. And mind you, if Lucci was let go, Quill's probably the guy that replaces them. So I'm happy to see Michelle get that opportunity to coach the team and get the W, because I think he's the next guy up, in all honesty.
All right. Well,
by the way,
go ahead.
one last thing on that. North Texas now is in a 4-game unbeaten streak. I think it's 2 wins, 2 draws. And we all know, as bad as North Texas has looked, all season they haven't looked like themselves. But you can always expect that run. Surprise, it's here. The run is here. North Texas is finding ways to get points. And you should see sort of like a snowball effect going forward where like I've said, they're a playoff team. It's just a matter of where they'll land in the playoffs.
Well, good. Thank you for that, Jose. We're going to leave it there. We appreciate all the comments tonight, all the questions. They enhanced the conversation. And, of course, we invite you to go to bigdsoccer.com for all the news and notes and commentary about the week ahead, about the past couple of games. A lot of good stuff there, a lot of good articles to peruse. And, of course, subscribe to our podcast version. We'll upload the audio to this. I'm always looking for feedback and ideas on how we can keep growing the show. So we appreciate everyone, all right? Be safe out there. Jose, Ben, you're wonderful human beings. All right. Good night. Good night.
Thanks, Rev. Good night, everybody.